Welcome back to HOA Karen Stories. Everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. How's everything going on your end? Grab a cup of coffee. Get comfy. And get ready for today's HOA drama, trust me. You won't want to miss this one. Before we dive in, take a second to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you won't miss any of our wild HOA stories in the future. Now, let's jump right into it. In the serene, gated community of Eastlake, nestled among well-kept homes and manicured lawns, a Clearwater police officer finds herself facing an unexpected and shocking ultimatum from her homeowners association, HOA. For years, Officer Jane Perry has parked her marked police cruiser in her driveway. It was a simple convenience for her busy life, a daily reminder of her commitment to the community she served. But this routine has now become a source of intense stress and frustration. The HOA has issued a formal warning, stating that her vehicle, a police cruiser, is in violation of their rules. If she doesn't remove it, she'll face hundreds of dollars in fines. The idea of being penalized for parking a government-issued car in her own driveway is absurd to Jane. She had never encountered a rule like this before, especially not one targeting law enforcement officers. This situation feels out of touch with reality. Her family, already facing the pressures of her high-risk job, is suddenly thrust into a conflict with their own neighborhood. Her husband, Dan Perry, who is also in law enforcement, shares the same disbelief. They cannot fathom how the HOA could consider her vehicle a violation. To them, the idea of punishing a police officer for parking in her own driveway is not only unreasonable but utterly ridiculous. For Jane Perry and her husband, Dan, the marked police cruiser in their driveway is more than just a vehicle, it's a symbol of safety and security. Every time they step outside, the sight of the cruiser parked in front of their home reassures them that they are part of something bigger, a team dedicated to keeping the community safe. Jane, as an active member of the Clearwater Police Department, knows firsthand how vital response time can be in an emergency. Having her cruiser right outside their door means she is always ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. It's a strategic decision to keep the vehicle at home rather than taking it to a station miles away. Dan, who also works in law enforcement, shares her view. For them, it's not just about convenience, it's about making sure their home and the surrounding neighborhood remain safe. The presence of a police cruiser serves as a silent deterrent to crime. Neighbors feel more secure, knowing that law enforcement is literally parked in their midst. The couple has lived in the Eastlake community for years, and the atmosphere of trust and safety is one of the reasons they chose to raise their family there. But now, with the HOA's demands, they find themselves questioning why the community they've protected is turning against them. They never imagined that something so essential to their jobs would become the source of so much conflict. The tension between Jane Perry and the Eastlake HOA escalates when the couple dives deeper into the legalities surrounding the issue. As law enforcement officers, they both know that understanding the fine print of the law is crucial in every situation, especially when dealing with something as significant as this. After receiving the ultimatum, Jane and Dan consult with a lawyer to see if there's any legal ground they can stand on. It doesn't take long for them to discover a key legal opinion issued by former Florida Attorney General Charlie Crist in 2005. The opinion specifically states that law enforcement vehicles, such as the one Jane drives, are not considered commercial vehicles under Florida law, and therefore, cannot be banned from parking in residential driveways by HOAs. This opinion gives the Perrys hope. It seems clear that the HOA cannot enforce the rule against them. The law supports their position, and they feel vindicated. However, when Jane and Dan present this legal argument to the HOA, they are met with firm resistance. The HOA insists that despite the legal opinion, Jane's government-issued police cruiser still violates their community rules, which prohibit vehicles that are not in compliance with the HOA's policies. The HOA argues that while the vehicle might not be commercial, it is still a government-issued vehicle, and therefore, still considered a violation of their codes. The couple's frustration grows as the HOA continues to dismiss their legal reasoning. They can't understand why the HOA refuses to acknowledge the law and why they are being treated this way. What was supposed to be a peaceful, simple life is now overshadowed by a bureaucracy that seems determined to push them out. For Jane and Dan Perry, the constant harassment from the HOA is just one more weight on their already heavy shoulders. Both in law enforcement, they are no strangers to the emotional toll of their jobs. Every day, they deal with tragedy, crime, and the raw realities of keeping their community safe. Jane's work is particularly difficult, as she often responds to high-stress situations that leave her emotionally drained. Dan faces similar challenges, and together, they carry the burden of helping others while sacrificing their own peace of mind. The challenges of their profession, while part of the job, already take a personal toll on their family life. Late shifts, missed family dinners, and constant worry over their safety weigh heavily on both Jane and Dan. They cherish the rare moments they have at home, the quiet evenings when they can unwind and just be a family. But now, this harassment from the HOA is putting even more strain on them. Instead of finding solace in their own home, they are faced with stress and frustration at every turn. They just want to live peacefully, to be able to come home from their high-pressure jobs and enjoy the sanctuary of their own driveway. It feels like an attack on everything they've worked for, the community they've vowed to protect, the home they've built, and the stability they've tried so hard to maintain. They never imagined that a situation like this would threaten their family's well-being. The emotional toll is palpable, as they navigate the growing conflict with the HOA. But they refuse to let this unnecessary battle take away the peace they deserve. As the Perry family's frustrations mount, they find themselves at a crossroads. The HOA, continuing its pattern of stonewalling, refuses to offer any meaningful comment on the matter. When approached for a statement, the HOA simply passed the request on to its attorney, leaving Jane and Dan to navigate this bureaucratic maze without any direct communication or resolution. This silence speaks volumes to the family. Instead of addressing the issue head-on, the HOA seems intent on ignoring the problem, further cementing the couple's belief that the association has no interest in working with them or even understanding their perspective. The legal ambiguity surrounding the situation only makes matters worse. While Jane and Dan feel confident that the law is on their side, the HOA's refusal to acknowledge the legal opinion and the persistent application of their own rules without any clear justification leaves the family in a state of uncertainty. The lack of clarity from the HOA's side, combined with the community's general support for the couple, only fuels their frustration. Why should they, as law-abiding citizens and public servants, be made to feel like criminals in their own neighborhood? At this point, the Perrys are considering taking further action, even if it means challenging the HOA's regulations in court. The idea of altering the very rules that have caused so much distress, not just for them but potentially for others in the community, starts to feel like the only way forward. They are determined to stand up for their rights and push for change. Not just for their own peace of mind but for future residents who might find themselves trapped in the same tangled mess of unjust HOA policies. The road ahead is uncertain. But Jane and Dan are prepared to fight. Unwilling to back down until they have the peace they deserve. If you found this story interesting, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the HOA's actions? Drop your comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more shocking HOA stories. Your support helps us bring you even more stories like this. So make sure you stay tuned for what's coming next.